paper online, daily news, daily news. It's a group of young people who are running an independent newspaper, which is online, with a very rapidly growing readership. We gathered here so that we can report back to the nation on an initiative which was extended to Swaziland, but not only Swaziland, but in Africa as a whole, where 2 young girls were to be identified in each of the 50 member states. And there was a criteria that was used in the selection. One was that the girls should be below the age of 18 years, and 2, they must be in Form 4, which is translated to grade 10, if I'm not mistaken, or grade 11, according to the other countries. So we then, as an office, I tasked my team to vigorously search for 2 young minds who are going to represent the country's ambassadors in Ethiopia, because this is an initiative that is supported by the African Union through its bilateral partners, where they have identified an opportunity whereby they are saying we need to bring more of our young women into the ICT and engineering space, which is predominantly a male-dominated environment. And I think it's an ongoing process which was started about 10 or 14 years ago, where we've been trying to bridge the gap in terms of the gender balance scorecard with girls in maths and science in secondary schools all over Africa. So I want to believe there were over 110 of these young women, because it was
girls who went to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, to the AU headquarters, which held a program called the AGCC. Now, people believe that education is the only element that can change the world in general. But one thing the African girls believe is that technology is the only element that can change the world. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 19th of August, we left the country to Addis Ababa. In my mindset, it played a film whereby I would see myself coding and then coming back to my country, just sitting there and learning and hearing what other countries have to say. But the moment when I stepped foot on Addis Ababa, I saw another vision, a vision whereby I was going to be enlightened by the real meaning of being young, being a girl, being a person who's able to code, and someone who will be able to speak out what I have learned. Now, in Addis Ababa, in the AGCC, which is the African Girls Can Code camp, we learned a lot of things, from having classes whereby we would learn the basics, which was the coding. And then we would also have classes whereby they would enlighten us about the real vision of the African Union. They talked about the African Union 2063 agenda, which was a vision by the African Union that they wish to achieve by 2063. And then they also had another one, which is the Sustainable Development Goals. These Sustainable Development Goals, it was my first time feasting my eyes on them, because they actually enlightened me the real meaning of being an entrepreneur, of being a person who's able to change the world through using technology, through using things. These sustainable goals, we talk of no hunger, we talk of zero poverty, we talk of one of the most important, which is gender equality, and so many other goals. So I wish they would show them on the screen. So these goals, when they were teaching, they said whatever we were doing, whatever code you would be, whatever project you would be coding, you would be coding it to change one or to achieve one of these SDG goals. And when we were actually in these classes and we were learning, we actually saw the fact that using this kind of technology, we can change the world. We talk of how can we change zero hunger through using technology? What can it do? But actually learning that there's some elements that we can code, some components we can code that can make us actually change the world using technology, which we can code something or an element that can which can eliminate hunger. Now, in our classes, in the other classes we had, which were the robotics classes, the gaming, fashion and arts, the design thinking, and also we also had which other class? Yes, okay, I think I've named all of them. So in these classes we were learning how to code. I was lucky that I was in the robotics class. So in the robotics class I learned a lot. I learned that there are elements that can talk to each other, whereby I could have my phone communicating with my icon at home, and I might be at work and I might be late, and I'll be able to communicate to my icon and, at least make it shut down or maybe have my window shut down through technology. So that whole experience enlightened me that so I can do things, small things that can change the world. So we had projects at the end where we had to make small components from our different classes. So in different classes we would have projects, but in these projects that we were doing, so we had groups. In these projects that we were doing, it was to achieve one of the SDG goals. In my class, in my robotics class, we made a component whereby it would be a drone that would be able to take medication to a certain area or to a certain person. But the difference is that, as we all know, that we do have existing drones in the world and they are under the medical sector. But the difference is that these drones will be communicating with someone's phone, whereby you would send an SMS and the drone would automatically come on its own. There won't be any interference of the hospital and so on. So through those projects, we had an expo, which was in the last day on Friday, whereby we had to enlighten everyone, the ambassadors, on exactly what do we mean when we talk about these robotics, these gaming and all the likes. So I've learned that as a young person and as a woman, I can do whatever I want, because there would be at some point in time where they would show us videos of young people where they would talk about pre-marriage and how that can actually work against us as young people and as women. So they talked about the empowerment that we can have, the intrinsic motivation that they were trying to bring out as the African girls can code. So and also we had a challenge. So it was a logo challenge. We had to express ourselves through this logo challenge first, and secondly, the African Girls Can Code Camp did not have a logo. So the whole idea was that they wanted us to design a logo that could stand out, that could represent what does the African Girls Can Code Camp mean. So I was able to design the logo, and I could say, fortunately, I won the logo challenge. So this is my logo that I had to explain to them what exactly it meant. And I think that's one of the elements that helped me to actually win this logo challenge. So I would love to brief you on what this logo means. Now, firstly, we just have a simple logo, first thing. So what I wanted to express with having a simple logo is the whole point that this is just a simple camp, but it has hidden messages in it. Now, my logo has a hidden message in it. We talk of the colors, we talk of the font, we talk of the sizing and the elements that we use to make up this logo. It has bold letters and it has black. So it is true, people did ask me, why did I go for black? But black means power. Black is one of the elements we use when we want to define strength. So that's why I actually use black. And for emphasis, I use the bold letters so that it could stand out that we're not just African girls who can code, but we are African girls who can really code. So then we use the colors, and in the SDG codes, they have the colors green, red, blue, and all the other colors. But I actually chose these three colors, red, green, and blue. Because for blue, it talks about peace. For green, it comes into the nature part. And then for the red, we talk of education, we talk of gender equality, which is one of the elements that they were trying to show us that, it is really important that gender equality, we actually try to understand it and we try to make a difference in it. Because as young girls, one thing we know, actually for me when I was growing up, was that my older brother was much more stronger than me, my older brother was much more privileged than me, and he had the element to do whatever he wanted because he was a boy. But in the African Girls Can Code, they're changing all of that. They want to show us that, you know what, as a young girl, you can start coding. As a young girl, you can start driving a bus. As a young girl, you can start driving a truck. You can get into the engineering sector through anything. It's just all up here. We just have to change the mindset that we have. We're not inferior to boys, but we're just equal. We're all the same. Just a few different elements that we actually have. So this is the little challenge that I actually had, and I won, which I want to. So I would love to give it to you. Oh, but actually, briefly, I'd love to also thank the SMIC for giving us such an amazing trip to Ethiopia and learning so much, which now we are actually ready to share it with Swaziland, and I will do everything in my power to make a change in how young girls understand coding, young girls understand education, and also technology, which is one of the greatest elements that can change the world.